group here. We are fresh out of Greene County, Indiana court. We were there. We were in Judge Martin's courtroom. It was a slightly interesting court date. We're gonna hit the high points of it. First of all, we went in. The judge read the charges to me. She asked me if I understood them. First charge she read was this here. This is all backwards for you guys, I believe, but it's resisting law enforcement, a Class A misdemeanor, right here. I asked her a question about it because I'm going to read this out to you. And this is what's been X'd right here. I'm going to read what's X'd. The charge that they are charging me with here is they're claiming that I forcibly forcibly resist, obstruct, or interfere with a law enforcement officer or a person assisting the officer while the officer was lawfully engaged in the execution of the officer's duties. I had a singular question for her, the judge. I asked if there is a forcible element required to be convicted of this crime. And she, of course, gave me the spiel, just wait till you get an attorney and we'll talk to you. But I insisted I get an answer. And so she did admit that there is a forcible element to this crime here, to this charge, right? But this is what the probable cause affidavit states for this charge. It says, to wit, Craig Hendry, by the way, this is not what I'm saying, this is what they're saying. Craig Hendry shined a flashlight into my eyes during a traffic stop, obstructing my vision, contrary to the form of the statutes in such cases made and provided by IC, yada, 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 and against the peace and dignity of the state of Indiana. That's what they claim I forcibly did. Right? They're claiming that I used force in this. Now, the prosecutor wanted to be quick to basically to muddy the waters. He wanted to be very quick to say, what did he say? He said there's a comma, right? That was, yeah. Yep. So he pointed out these commas here. He said, no, Judge, it said there's a comma. Well, and I pointed out that in the English language, usually when commas are used when there's more than three or more things that you're talking about. So in this case, it would be resist, which is blocked out. It's obstruct or interfere, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that forcibly isn't a factor in all three of them. I think it would just be ridiculous for the legislature to write forcibly resist, forcibly obstruct, or forcibly interfere. So they just put forcibly at the front of it. So the prosecutor was quick to clutch at that straw. But of course, we can test that. I don't really think that that's exactly right. Then they wanted to ask me if I wanted a court-appointed attorney, if I was going to represent myself, or if I was going to hire counsel. And we have not met the goal on GoFundMe and all that for counsel. I am looking into options to raise that without crowdfunding it. But if that doesn't happen, I am prepared to go pro se and hire attorneys hourly to help me navigate the courtroom. I wanted to give everybody that update. I am going to go back home. I have got to be at work at midnight tonight, so I'm going to go back home and try to catch some sleep. But we made it out of court. Now, I am going to pull out of here. I'm going to be on the way home. I want to talk to y'all about something equally, as a matter of fact, exceptionally important, most likely more important than the court date we just had. And that is my Boyd County case in Kentucky, right? So, in Boyd County, Kentucky, I was charged with a Class B misdemeanor of disorderly conduct. With the help of Chili DeCastro and his channel members, his channel supporters, Team DLZ he calls them, we were able to hire a very renowned, a very reputable attorney out of Louisville, Kentucky to represent me in that case. So tomorrow, right after work, I get off work at around 8 a.m. Right after work, I and a couple of my family are going to be heading down to Boyd County, Kentucky. We're going to be meeting up with Generally Specific, that channel. We're going to be meeting him for lunch on the way. And then we hope to hang out with people that are in the county, in the town of Ashland, Kentucky, or thereabouts. We're going to hope to hang out with them and kick back just a little bit before this jury trial. So a few details of the jury trial. It begins at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. It is in a town called Catlettsburg, Kentucky, spelled exactly as it sounds. And we are going to be represented by Mr. Foreman, or the DUI guy plus on YouTube. This is a free speech case. It's not a case that, you know, what the DUI guy usually handles, but it's some new territory, and it's going to be because ultimately juries are just 6 individuals, and they are given instructions as to how they are to rule, based on the facts or the evidence. But nothing guarantees that a person rules the way that they think they should. Of course, sometimes jury nullification can be used, and jury nullification would be when the jury thinks that the crime that the guy is being committed of is unconstitutional or unjust, and so they then rule not guilty just to avoid having to convict somebody of a crime that they don't think is a just crime. Another thing that they do is they take their own personal feelings. They say, I don't like the juror, or I don't like the defendant, and so I'm going to find him guilty. And anybody who challenges the government or challenges a governmental instruction, they are in some capacity for more freedom. Now, sometimes people ask the government for the freedom to do things that otherwise shouldn't be done, right? Like perhaps they want to monopolize, like a private industry would like to monopolize a certain corporation. So they go to the government and they ask that everybody else, that it be made illegal for everybody else to sell the product that they're attempting to sell, right? That would be them wanting to give themselves more freedom at the expense of everybody else. That's basically what the government does. But a guy like me or a guy like Tyler here, we go out and we advocate that not only do we get more freedom, but everybody gets that same amount of freedom, right? We don't want any more freedom than anybody else, but the biggest thing is we don't want any less freedom than everybody else. And so that's what I want to make it clear. This case is not about me. This case is not about me at all. I am just the medium through which the government is showing that they absolutely hate the people and that they hate our rights. Right? But this trial is about you. This trial is about the government. This trial is about freedom as a whole. Right? This is not something that should be taken lightly. Even if somebody doesn't like me as a person, it should be easy to get behind our right to call a police officer a fucking thug when they are acting like fucking thugs. I don't think there's anything less important than this. I mean, let's keep it real. If we are not allowed to challenge our government, even by criticizing them, this is just, we have transcended to the level of the Soviet Union, right? And anybody who thinks that's an exaggeration, look at what happened to me when I criticized the government. I was thrown in jail. Now, albeit I am entitled to a bit more due process, a bit more processing than they were in the Soviet Union back in the 60s and the 50s. But I still was caged. That's an important fact to remember. And it's an extremely worrying thing. I think one of the biggest things to keep in mind is that if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. And if they can do it for something so little as calling one of them a fucking thug, that's just them shaving down the stick of freedom, right? Eventually there will be nothing left. If they're going to take this freedom, they'll take the freedom to call them idiots or to call them ridiculous. They will take that next. So it's all about, what I was trying to say initially is, this trial is all about getting the people to understand that our rights are not only essential, but that's all that I need to say. They are essential. That's what we need to get them to understand. And so once we get them to understand that, they are going to side with us. It's all a matter of opinion. So with that being said, everybody, I'm going to be going live tomorrow on the way to Kentucky. We are going to be updating you when we're on the way, but I want everybody in the chat to let me know if you're around Boyd County, Kentucky, if you plan to go tomorrow or May 1st at 10 p.m. May 1st at 10 p.m. Let me know if you can go in the chat, and let me know in the comments if you can go in the chat as well. This is going to be a crazy trial, I assume, and it is on, by the way. They offered me a deal. The deal was, well, they offered me a few deals, and Tyler was present when I was there, or when I was negotiating with them, and the deals were quite tempting. I mean, what do you think about the deals, Tyler? Like, you think they were pretty?
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty tempting, but you gotta stand up for what's right. So.
That's right, and so a lot of the deals they included things like the charges being dropped without a guilty plea. You can testify to that.
Yes.
Yeah. And so they wanted to drop the charges in some roundabout way without a guilty plea, but they wanted it to be like on certain conditions that I agreed to.
Mm-hmm.
The last one was this. This was the last offer. No jail time, charges dismissed. The only stipulation was that I was not allowed to get any more charges out of Boyd County, Kentucky between the time I signed it and 365 days after I signed it. But this is the real deal. They charged me maliciously. They charged me unlawfully. If they'll do it once, they will do it again. I cannot trust these individuals to not charge me frivolously for not committing any crime. On top of that, I will not make deals with people that have clearly shown that they are terrorists. And therefore I won't make a deal with them. And I'm doing it for freedom, everybody. I'm doing it for principle. I'm doing it because we are free men and free women. And until we start acting like it, until we start standing on it, until we start forcing them to go all the way, go the distance, so to speak, they are going to continuously stand on our rights. So the plan tomorrow, and with this I'm going to get off here, the plan on May 1st is to get the prosecutor of Boyd County, Kentucky, Curtis Dodson, on a video camera protecting police officers' right to apprehend you in cuffs and throw you in a concrete cage for the act of criticizing them. We are going to prove to everybody that the prosecutor, the elected prosecutor of the Commonwealth of Boyd County, Kentucky, that he advocates that whenever police officers feel offended in public on the job, that they apprehend somebody and throw them in a concrete cage. I think he will be defending the indefensible. He will be prosecuting the unprosecutable. And me and Mr. Foreman, the DUI guy, will put ourselves on the right side of history. We will stand up for the right things. We'll stand up for moral justice. And with that being said, everybody, I look forward to it, and I hope to see you there. So we will see you in the next one. I've been Craig Henry with the Henry Media Group. Take care.